Awesome. All right. Well, I want to say a massive thank you, Luke. Appreciate you joining me here today, my man. I'm going to give a quick intro. For those of you who don't know, this is Luke Davis. He is somebody that I've had the pleasure of working with very closely in the past. And for a bit of background, I mean, in 23 years, he's achieved more success than I guess most people would achieve in a lifetime. He's a highly successful entrepreneur in both the financial markets and running his own business, probably one of the greatest investors of our generation. Like I'm gonna go as far as putting that out there, man, because I still remember like getting goosebumps hearing you talk about the markets. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people say when it comes to finances, but it was super inspiring. So I really appreciate you hopping on here, man.
Hey, bro, it's great to be here and also happy to share my experience working together and very much appreciate the kind words. I don't know about one of the greatest investors of our generation, but definitely here to leave a mark. So,
Oh, dude, you're definitely
nonetheless.
doing that. I think you're too humble for yourself, man. It's all good. We'll go into that another time. But hey, I appreciate you hopping on. I wanted to have this chat, as you know, because things are starting to formalize with Astro Growth, and you gave me really my first opportunity at spearheading sales for a company, and for that I'm always grateful. But I just thought it'd be awesome, for us to have a little chat. Obviously, guilty as charged around like what I'm looking to do here with Astro Growth, but I also think that we can give a lot of value to founders who were once in the position you were in, maybe like a year and a half ago, who are, just spinning all the plates in their business. And so let's maybe dive into that really quickly. Like, give us a quick sort of background on, BNB already had so much success before I joined. But what did the company actually look like on a day-to-day from how you were operating it before I kind of came into things?
Yeah, un undoubtedly, BNB was a bit chaotic before I was able to install a sales team into the business to be able to actually handle the interest that we had in the business. So it's not really a sales focused company, and it's never really been that way. It's, we provide a really high quality service and product, and people find out about it through our social media channels. And, when it comes time for them to want to work with us, then the next logical step is to reach out and to, book a consultation. I used to take all of those consultations myself and, guide people through the process of what it would look like to work with us. And I think the most difficult thing for me in terms of being able to relinquish that to somebody else was the fact that, the work that we do is in financial markets,
Mm.
and you need to have a degree of understanding of financial markets to effectively communicate the value that we can offer to our customers. And I actually didn't believe that there was going to be somebody else that was capable of doing that on my behalf. I really truly believe that, people would want to come on and speak with me to know, what it is that I could be able to help them with.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair enough statement to make. And second to that, I really didn't think anyone would want to be able to take the time to educate themselves on, all the necessary factors that you would need to know for a customer that had experience in financial markets to be able to make a decision with you, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
not selling to average customers, as you know, we're selling to
Absolutely.
sophisticated either retail investors or just, people in general. And I think my biggest concern with trying to build out a sales team or having somebody help me get out of the role of sales was the fact that people wouldn't trust us and wouldn't be able to move
Yeah.
forward. So I didn't know. So the balance there
Yeah.
was a bit off in that sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, right? Because I mean, without kind of going too deep into numbers, like let's just say BNB was doing very well revenue wise before I came on board, right? You guys were by no means getting off the ground, pre-revenue, any of that. Like you guys
Mhm.
had, money coming through the door. And I guess with that, right, what I believe a lot of founders might think to themselves is, at that point, you were doing everything. You were doing fulfillment, you're obviously doing all the marketing, the content, filming all the videos with the team. And then, as well as that, you're also taking these consultations, which chew up a
Mhm.
massive part of your schedule. But with that being said, I think a lot of founders would look at their balance sheet and say, well, the money's coming through. I'm still looking at pretty healthy margins, but I am, maybe feeling a little bit gassed or whatever with how much work I'm doing. But let me ask you this, like if the business is already doing well financially and there's revenue coming through, what do you think it was that allowed you to still have the foresight to see the value in bringing on external sales as opposed to just grinding it out?
I had cycled various team members through assisting me with the consultation process and speaking to people that were interested in working with us. And I
Mm.
did see that there was the ability for other people on the team to be able to effectively onboard new clients.
Mm.
Uh, it wasn't as high as it could have been because I don't believe at the end of the day those individuals were like that well trained in sales specifically.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd seen that it was possible, and I also always, I mean, I value the ability to buy back my time, and ultimately, when I buy back more of my time, the product that I build for my customers and deliver to them is better.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a win-win. But to go back to your question, I think really you reached out and said you would be willing to try.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of meetings, and it seemed like you were quite convicted in wanting to take consultations for us and build out the entire sales mechanism. I'm talking about how we would conduct the calls, what kind of process we would go through, and like what
Yeah.
the onboard consultation all the way through to onboarding would look like with the operations team. So you built the whole process. And for me, I would say if you were wondering like what my foresight was, it was ultimately I knew that we couldn't scale past the current levels that we had sort of been bouncing between
Mm.
without building those systems and trying to remove myself more from the consultation role. And as soon as I was able to do that and step away from worrying about sales, I was able to worry about the bigger picture, which allowed everyone else in the business to grow more and allowed our company to grow more. And ultimately, what I'm most proud of is service our customers at a way higher level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think with that as well, like I mean, it was an absolute pleasure getting to do those things. Everything from like just our call structure and creating a pitch deck. I remember when I was working alongside Ryan, your head of operations, we even kind of stripped down and rebuilt like the CRM from the ground up and had a bit more of like that admin process, kind of more, I guess, in an evolved way than when it was prior because I mean, kudos to you, man. You were crushing it and you were just doing it out of Google Sheets for the most part, like a savage, just going for it. And it works, it worked. It got you to where you were able to reinvest in the business, get that initial revenue off the ground. I guess ultimately with that, like when you started seeing those things take shape in terms of like having a more formalized sales process, um, what did that, I guess, help you understand from operating the business when it came to like, okay, it's actually not so much about people hopping on a call with me, although I am the investing expert, although I am the guy that knows the stuff, like maybe tell me a little bit more about, I guess, how that reframed from, oh, people are getting on this call because they're going to ask me really technical questions about investing or really technical things about the offer to actually like no, offer and deliverables aside, there's actually just more of a reassurance journey and like a bit more of a, I hate to use the word, but a bit more of a sales process than just giving information. Because I think I watched some of your calls when I came on, and for somebody that had no sales training, you were really, really good at sales. And a lot of founders are because they have that conviction in their own offer. But I think maybe sometimes when it was more of the uncertainty on the behalf of the prospect, that was maybe where it ran into a bit of a pinch. So I guess did it shift anything for you seeing how that got handled from somebody else who maybe worked a bit more in sales and dealt with things like fear and uncertainty in prospects?
Totally. I think that prospects stopped slipping through the cracks.
Mm.
I wasn't a pressure tactic salesman
Yeah,
by
no, for
any
sure.
means. And I'm not saying that you are either, but I think when people would come to the end of the call and they would make the decision that this wasn't the right time for them or this, wasn't the right solution for them, even though I knew it was.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you've made your case. You're not trying to look desperate. And, I got more people that want to do consultations and I got clients to worry about. So for me, I just, I let prospects slip through the cracks that, when we installed the sales process that you built, that didn't happen anymore because there
Mm.
was secondary meetings scheduled. There was follow-ups. There was, proactive reach outs after, let's say, a month goes by where, here's some information from the group that you might want to see or some stuff that we've been up to since we last had our call. And like for me, I wasn't able to keep track of all that, right? I was able to sort of go
Totally.
back and follow up with people over WhatsApp or over email, when I felt like I had the time to.
Yeah.
When I wanted to make a Saturday about the business versus a Saturday for myself, I would maybe do that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, if we didn't, get the contract going and get to work, I wasn't really chasing people up. So I think,
Absolutely.
not to say that chasing people up is necessary, but if you care about growing the business and servicing as many customers as you possibly can, I mean, you got to have the systems dialed in. So I think you did a great job by coming in and first of all building a CRM because we didn't really have a CRM by any means. And just creating a structure for the calls where it's like, okay, this is the objective of these meetings. This is what we need to find out from the prospect. This is what we need to effectively explain to them about what we offer as a business.
Mm.
And you did that. You did that brilliantly. But one thing I want to attest to, which I was very surprised, was the fact that because my initial maybe hesitancy around building a sales team, which I already talked about, was these guys are just not going to know what they need to
Mm.
know to talk to people that are here to make a decision about money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you dove in and you went into BMB, which I guess this is a good testament to BMB as well as a program,
Absolutely.
is you went through the materials and you taught yourself what you needed to know. And you did a very good job. And then you applied that to investing your own money. And you basically lived and breathed the philosophy that I was teaching our customers. So I think within 2 months, 2 or 3 months, you really picked up what is important for people to know when it comes to markets and be able to identify if somebody had a crappy strategy or a
Yeah.
good strategy for their approach. And ultimately, once you got that figured out and you had it figured out for yourself, I think it became natural for you to sell it because you knew that that was a better option for them. So you couldn't have done that, and we wouldn't have had the same success if you didn't care about the business enough to learn all the intricacies. So I mean, a
Yeah.
huge, huge kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you, man. No,
Otherwise,
it's
it would not have worked. It would not have
yeah.
worked.
Absolutely, but it's a testament to what you have at BNB as well. Like I only really want to partner with offers where I see that it's something legitimate, it's something real that is actually solving a problem, has great results, and that is BNB to its core. I remember when I came in and I was just so blown away by the returns that some of these people were getting, how not even just like on a financial return, but how streamlined the delivery of it was to where people were going from stressing over watching the markets 2 to 3 hours a day to then spending 2 to 3 hours a week and getting better returns than they ever had. And I was like, holy shit, this is something I can get behind. Yeah, so I appreciate that. And just to go back a step as well, what you said about, having that time to actually get the yield out of your prospects. I'm not going to say the client's name, but I remember one guy in particular who, there was a period of time there we were a little low on leads. And I was like, all right, this is where a sales guy steps up. And I just started cold calling the CRM and like farming the CRM. And we ended up getting somebody in who I think you'd spoken to like 8 months prior and
Yeah.
had a multi seven-figure portfolio, hadn't done anything with it, hadn't seen the returns he wanted. And we got him through the door. And now, in the position I'm in managing teams, this is something I get all of my reps to do where I say, like, if you really want to be a top sales guy, you can't just be waiting for inbounds to fall in your lap. Farm the CRM, do the self-setting, ask for referrals, and doing all of that really just multiplies not just the revenue, but the profit of the business because none of that costs any money. You've already done the hard work for the marketing and paid your dues. So you got to make the most out of it. And so man, I really appreciate that. I want to tie us off, I guess, with one sort of final question here, which I would love to see if you could really go deep on. I think it would bring a lot of value to other business owners out there. But looking back, with where you're at now, and even, since I stopped working internally within the business as directly as I was, always here on the sidelines cheering you guys on and happy to help out wherever I can, moving forward. But even since sort of stepping back a little bit, I know that you've carried on by having setters, having closers, implementing a CRM, follow-up processes, all the rest of it. And that's continued to serve you really, really well. And I hope it continues to improve and just keep going in that direction. Looking back though, I would love to know, like, if you could kind of use the next however many minutes or time that we've got here, what would be your advice to founders who are maybe in that stage where, they're starting to hit a stride in their business, maybe they're doing 70, 100, 150, 200K a month, but they're still taking sales calls themselves. They're only really maybe delegating some of their marketing, and I guess they feel stuck, lost, burnt out, like, they're just tearing their hair out because of how busy they are and how full their calendar is. Like, what would your advice be to those guys who want to shift from working in the business to becoming a business owner who works on the business and are maybe considering making the jump to building a sales department, but are just too scared to let go of the reins as of yet?
It's a great question because, if you want to go back 15 months, that's me. I would say, first of all, you should just first of all, you should just hire Anthony and get to work. But second of all, the reason why I say that is because you are not doing your best service to your
Mm,
business and your customers if you are doing sales as the founder.
yeah,
Every business is going to start with the founder doing every role, wearing every hat,
yeah.
and that's fine. That's just the way of business. But when you start scaling and, you know, let's say a quarter up to a half of your actual time is being dedicated towards having to command the sales process of your business, then okay, you're building a vehicle that's bringing cash in. What about on the flip side of that when it comes to service delivery, it comes to expansion of team, improving marketing, improving product, onboarding, like every single aspect of the business is not getting that same degree of time. So ultimately, you need to buy back your time
Mm,
and build a sales structure, build a sales team that removes you from the process because you're not going to be the best version of yourself of as a founder if you're in that role. I wasn't the best, owner operator of my business when I was worrying about consults
mm,
and trying to either convince people or let's say even in some cases just flat out have conversations with people that it would never work for, just a waste of time. Like that took hours out of my calendar every single week that I wasn't able to really do. I mean, I remember it was like this time last year and we were rocking and rolling and you were handling all the calls like so well, and I remember reviewing all the call recordings as you were going because I I still wasn't 100% convinced until I was that, oh my gosh, like this guy really is nailing the overall points that we got to talk about with these prospects so that they know what to do. And I remember watching these calls and I was like, Anthony's really got this down. Like I really don't think I need to spend time doing call review anymore. I think he's good. Like what he's saying is fine. He's being compliant. Like, in my business, you got to worry about a lot more stuff than just is somebody going to
of
pay you.
course.
But I started watching those and I was like, Anthony's really doing a great job here. Awesome. I don't need to do call review anymore. I don't need to worry about sales anymore. I'm just going to worry on all the big stuff that I have on this list in front of me of things that I need to get done that I've been adding to the list for the past 6 months.
Mm,
And instead of spending my evenings doing sales consults like I used to, or watching over calls or, doing training with you, for example, on crypto stuff, I just spent that time working in the business and working on the business, or sorry, not in the business, on the business, on the stuff that really mattered,
yeah.
rebuilding onboarding packages and allowed me extra time to do market research and to focus on one-on-one clients. And like that was all very, very significant. So for me, I didn't get a chance to really build what is the current version of my business until I was able to delegate what you did to you fully, and you did an amazing job. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that.
Dude, thank you so much, man. And likewise, very, very grateful for the opportunity to, have been able to work with your company. You were super established when I met you, and so I had to try and put my best foot forward. I won't get into how that sort of came about with the first opportunity of getting to speak to you about all of this, but that's for a whole nother story time and a whole nother video. But I'm super grateful that I had that opportunity, super grateful that we're still here, working alongside and seeing each other grow. And man, I mean, it's a testament to you. You've got an awesome business, you've got awesome clients, and you're absolutely crushing it. So I want to say thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule, which I know you guys just ran like a massive 3 day event. Things have been popping off. So thank you for taking the time out to do this. And yeah, man, I look forward to seeing you crush it moving forward.
Likewise, brother. My pleasure. I think anyone that's watching this video and made it to this point, you're obviously heavily considering whether you'd want to hire Anthony and his team to come in and build a sales system for your company. Just do it. There's absolutely zero risk in trying, and ultimately, when it succeeds, you're going to be like, "Why didn't I do this sooner?" I think that's one of the reasons why we're successful in our business is because there's really no reason why people that are qualified shouldn't work with us. And once they do, they realize they made their lives a lot simpler with crypto. But in the same case of Anthony's company, like you need help with sales, and you can't do it founder led sales forever. And I think in terms of somebody who probably had the most challenging company to build a sales team for, and in a very, very short period of time was able to jump into that role, literally come into the company as an operating officer, like a COO, and like, operate sales, onboarding, marketing, give feedback to different teams, communicate with customers throughout their journey, get feedback from them, handle, errors and omissions and many different things along the ways. Like you really didn't just handle sales. Um, that's invaluable to a founder, like in fucking valuable. So that's what I would have to say about the experience of working with you. Obviously, when you decided to move on from the business and tackle bigger pastures, it was hard for me to accept that. But I'm super happy seeing what you're doing, and you left us in a great position to keep doing what we're doing at an even bigger scale now. So thank you, Ben.
Dude, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much once again, just for sharing this, for being willing to hop on and for making the time. I look forward to seeing us continue to crush it. And I mean, as we were just kind of saying like beforehand, August last year to August this year is night and day. And I mean, we'll see where we are when we circle back in a year from now. But yeah, thanks again, brother. Always here, always got your back, and love to see you and the team winning.
Most welcome, man. Cheers.
Cheers. All right.